Today we have a wonderful session that we're talking about how to really bring what you've researched, what you've done. This is our starting, getting it out there to different means of publication. So presentations and posters. Last week we had something, last month we had a session on how to start writing things up and getting them published. Now we're going to talk about the presentations and posters, which is often like your first leap into scholarship. So I love introducing a dear friend, Dr. Anita Kablinger, who is not only a dear friend, but she's also one of the best huggers I know. She is also an outstanding teacher and is really growing, has grown, and is continuing to grow in her role as a researcher. And she has actually moved into, she's a full professor, which not a whole ton of us are around here just yet, but she's also the program director for clinical trials research. And before this session, we were just catching up and talking about all the really cool things that she is doing now over with the medical school and with BTCRI. I mean, really, if you're interested, bend her ear later and she will just tell you about all the cool things that they're doing to really change lives. But also, she's very into scholarship. If you walk the halls of the psychiatry department area, they're adorned with her posters and presentations. So anyway, please join me in welcoming Dr. Anita Kablinger.
Thank you. You guys are so sweet. Now you guys are the only two males. Are you okay with this?
Yeah, it goes.
Okay, we're going to make you more sensitive. Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Awesome group, I can tell. We are going to do this. And this is really basic, but what the heck. We figured a nice, relaxing lunch hour and reminding ourselves of basic things and how to get your stuff out there is worth it. And I talk and listen for a living, so please put up your hand, shout out something as we go, because I never follow a script, usually. Okay, thank you. Let's talk about an outline, because I know if we're talking about education, we should be very regulated. Is that a good word? Maybe organized, structured. I like structured. I prefer structure. We are going to do a little intro, because I'd like to, I think I know most people, but just in case something, I'd like to know what you want to know. We're going to do little exercises. We're going to share that. We're going to do a few didactic slides, and we're going to do a few examples of posters, because I'm sure everybody here loves them, and we'll do many of them, and hopefully a discussion. So, would you mind, I'm going to start with you, Thomas, since I know you. Could you just tell everybody who you are, and if there's anything particular you would like to learn today from this?
My name is Thomas Joseph. I am a PGY1 psychiatry resident. This is my first foray into research, so just learning the basics, and I guess no time than now to get started. So.
And since we're working together today, it was good bonus points, so that was great. Good.
Hi, I'm Sandy. I work in professional development.
Miss Sandy, what would you like to learn today?
How I can get that screen to work.
That one? Okay. I've always thought that in medical school there should be a class for, AV stuff, because nobody would ever know how to fix it whenever it went wrong. I just never know. Okay. Young lady.
I'm Mary Catherine Santoro. I'm the Outreach and Instruction Librarian for the Carilion Clinic Health Sciences Libraries.
Wonderful. Anything you would like to learn today?
I'd also like to know how to fix the first.
I am 0 for 2 so far. Okay, I'm not going to be able to do that.
I'm Jane Burnett. I'm the CRMH Hospital Librarian, and I'm here because I wanted to hear you talk.
Oh, that's so sweet. And that's only because I email her like 3 times a week asking for articles. I do, and she's so nice. I'm like, thank you.
But she's one of the ones who help you to get to the
Yes, exactly.
I'm Deb Farron. I'm also in the OCPD department assisting
Excellent.
today.
And I love to hear people do their presentations, and what I would like to learn is the best way, the best practices that you
There you
have
go.
for us.
And you just got that off the top of your head. That was awesome.
And I'm Corey Goodwin. I'm one of the clinical pharmacy specialists here, but I wear a partial admin hat. I'm one of the directors of many of our pharmacy postgraduate training programs.
Oh, awesome.
So we have 11 residents. I'm not looking for anything in
Really?
particular, but I'm always looking for new
Yeah.
ideas. And, you know, we do a fair number of posters, not just for things here, but for things sort of specifically related with
Well, we
pharmacy.
have to talk at some point because I think
Perfect.
pharmacy and psych don't do very much together as far as I can
Not
tell.
as much as they could.
Exactly right. I like you, Corey. This is going to be good. Yeah, I
I'm
love
not a
it.
psych person, but I
No, no,
I know
but-
who you can talk to.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. I mean, psych patients have everything going on. That's why we're never bored. There's so much information.
That's right. I'm Sherry Wicker. I am the director of the Office of Continuing Professional Development and our Teaching Academy Teach. And I have done lots of posters and presentations, but I'm always interested in hearing more about how, I think I skipped the basics and I just like starting to create them, and then I've learned from experience and just going to sessions.
Yeah.
I like to learn there's, some different ways of
Okay.
structuring them.
Oh, I'm Mariah Rudd. I'm also in the Office of Continuing Professional Development. We do a lot of education research, and we're getting ready to present some posters at the upcoming CIDR conference. So I'd like to learn
awesome.
more about how to make more concise statements within a poster so they're less wordy. I think that's my
Awesome.
call.
That's awesome. So, and I love your comment too, Sherry, about basics. I went to one of the medical school classes that we were observing about nutrition, right? It was basic nutrition. I'm like, I don't think I ever had a class on basic nutrition. Even because when we go to school, we hear all about the bad stuff and right off the bat as opposed to what's normal. So, I like, okay, so that's good. I feel good about this. All right, well, I would like for just a few minutes, because this is our first thing, and you can do it in little pairs. We have to try to do it. Corey will have to have some, or Thomas might have to come out. I'll let the two guys go together. But for 5 minutes, your goal is to come up with a list of as many things as possible that would make a poster or a presentation the worst thing ever. Like you would never want to do that again. I want points that just like, oh my God, if that happens, like, I am not going to be there. Like, this is a total waste of my time. And I am sure it's not going to apply to today, but just as a little exercise. So, few minutes. Jane's like, what should I write?
So I'm just trying to get on the public Wi-Fi.
I don't know if you guys have done this before.
Hey, Corey. Nice to meet you.
We did this at an academic conference. We just see lists,
It's so cool to come up with things that you can critique.
Oh, yes, that things. We could go on for days.
Right here. So something that's just all words, no diagrams, no graphs.
Something with something lacking visual interest. Too many words.
Hate it.
It drives me crazy
When there's no
line up
food,
like they
that's
show
the worst.
as opposed to
Presentation.
it's the CD part, it's just pharmacist are.
Yeah.
Too small
It's easy to
font.
see all
Not realistic. Question. For them to go and get a poster, they must go and find it.
Oh, stop.
Like a whole class and then like the fonts too.
You go on kids' face. Nothing about research, just if you went to go
Look at
visit
it
somebody,
and
what would you do?
not have to navigate it, but just look at the information, not try to find it.
It's been natural flow to things.
Yeah.
Like reading. And
Flow to the point, right.
are we just doing posters and visual, or are we doing like PowerPoint visual?
Okay, so yeah, we just have, just posters, right? You don't have to.
Anything, presentations, poster, talks, anything. I don't know, it doesn't matter. It is, it's wide open.
Okay, so
Reading from
concise.
With the internal medicine.
Yeah, something that's just not to the point. I mean, like concise, I guess we're talking about 20 words.
4 pages of your things.
We'll put these in, I guess we'll go over.
Oh, cheers.
Thank you.
Lacking audience participation.
Too quiet.
That's awesome.
Monotone.
Right.
You guys are gonna have to eat double food. I know you will.
Tangents. No clear, like, no clear organization.
There you go.
Seems like we sort of have those one little list. Posters, presentations.
Okay, you guys are good. 1 minute, we're good? Are you ladies okay? We're okay, we have a little start, right?
Yep.
I forgot to do my obsessive compulsive personality disorder quiz. Did I not do that with you guys? I know you're laughing. All right, how many people here make lists? Okay, thank God. How many people have ever added something to their list they already did just so they can cross it off?
Love that.
Isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
That is obsessive
There's nothing more satisfying than marking things off.
It is. People laugh at that, but I think it's a good sign of stuff.
So what
Okay,
disorder does that give us all?
obsessive compulsive personality. And that is not a bad thing. It's not the same as obsessive compulsive disorder because that's anxiety provoking. Obsessive compulsive personality, we do that because we just like it that way.
Disorder sounds bad.
It does, but I just don't use that part, disorder. Okay, so give us some awful things in a talk. Give us a couple.
So for initially for presentations, or a poster, it's too verbose, too many words.
There you go.
No visual effects, nothing to grab your eyes.
Okay.
It's just too many words, it's a block of text at you. It's hard to just get to the point.
Have you ever been to one, and if this wasn't your journal club, have you ever been to one of our journal clubs where they didn't have any slides or anything and everybody just had the paper there? Awful. Awful. Just, that's my own personal experience. Have you ever had that?
We do that for all of our.
Do you? I'm sorry. But the residents in psych, they have to do a presentation.
No, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great idea.
And then most people, because if you just do the article, most people don't even bring the article then either. So then they're just sitting there.
And then you're like, should I
Listening.
print it?
Yeah, should I print it? And then I kill 4 trees and okay. So I got it. So no visual, too verbose. Any other good ones?
Things have some flow and sort of gets to the point. I think that could go in both categories, poster
Could
or
be.
presentation.
Yep. Like, I think one of the concepts is not to try to put everything all in one, but at the other end is try to have a few good, meaningful points that you get, right? All right, young ladies at the back.
The people who give their whole presentation looking at the wall behind them.
I hate that. I got that. Or like reading the slides. Okay, got that. Yes? Anything else?
Too many filler words.
Too many filler words.
Want to tell you about this.
Excellent. Do we have to practice those? Because I do that sometimes too. But
Everybody does.
Everybody does, but practicing is important because otherwise it takes away from the talk. Miss Jane didn't have one for me?
Well, we were talking about a problem that she has is when you go unprepared and
Oh, she has it.
depend on-
Not you.
you should go prepared.
Oh, okay.
You should go prepared and don't pretend that
That was
Wi-Fi
well done.
working.
Okay.
And especially if you're going to do something live.
Yeah, yeah.
Have a backup plan.
Right.
'Cause
There you go.
I've done an entire presentation where I've said, okay, I want you all to picture inside Corellia because we had one projector and it was down.
And it always happens.
That was that.
It happens. It's funny how some of these sites too that you look at, like bring an extra light bulb, bring everything because everything that's going to go wrong can go wrong. Anything you wanted to add, Miss Sandy? You were setting it up like at 11:30. You were on the ball. I
2
know.
hours early to your sessions to get the AV stuff to work.
I'm sorry, but I thank you very much. Anything else? You guys have anything to add?
Like tangential, points, yeah, going off on tangents.
Uh-huh.
Someone who speaks too quietly
Yep.
or too loudly.
Yep.
And then just kind of visual, like fonts and colors on a slide or on a poster
Absolutely.
that are detract from the message or are unreadable.
Awesome.
And going over time.
And going over time, which we won't ever do. Yeah. Oh, you're adding that one to your list? Good.
And I'm checking it out.
Okay, I think all of the points you guys have, we're gonna go through all of them. But a lot of these sound like common sense, but it's amazing, isn't it? All of us here can probably say we have gone to a talk or seen a poster that really sucked. And I'm trying to be nice, but, right? Okay. Got it. All right. And of course, what is a good talk without learning objectives? Okay, and those are in here a little bit later of how to make objectives, which all of you know how to do, but it's, like I said, this is a review. But our objectives for today, if you choose to accept this mission, is to assemble components of strong and weak presentations, which we've talked a little bit about, to demonstrate knowledge of SMART format, which I think everybody in this room knows, but it's interesting. I'm our CME person in psych, and I get our flyer every week with the objectives and how many times they have to be tweaked. It's probably uncommon to ever say, oh, those are perfect, go, right? So something to look at, and how to describe or how to look at an engaging poster. And interesting, I think I asked you, Sherry, and Dave, maybe it was a month or two ago when I went on to the new website, and I'm like, I know we used to have poster format templates on here, and I looked everywhere for them, and I couldn't find them. And then I think either you or Dave sent them, and like, yeah, you're right, they're not there. It's like, I think everybody needs to be able to find the templates. And are they under OCPD now? Office? I don't
They're
know.
under marketing.
Under marketing?
There's some
They're
like
hidden.
odd, they don't belong to us.
That's
But
weird.
That's a good point, we should link them.
It's in
Yeah,
that brand center, I
the
think.
brand center.
Whether it's a t-shirt or a poster.
It used to be under R&D at one point,
Yeah.
but now they,
Yeah, it's not in R&D because I looked there too. But there's the different poster format templates, the different sizes, as well as the slide templates, right? So the medical school slide templates, Carillion slide templates with the background. There's Jefferson background slide templates. Those are all available that you shouldn't have to make up your own, right? Or at least have a good starting point. Okay? So those are the things we're going to work on. We just did our group exercise, talked about the worst things. I'm trying to think if there was any other really bad things that I'm sure we will talk about it as we go. Posters, the ones where, I mean, everybody here has been to those poster things, and I can't read it, and I have to get really close, and it's all in big like full sentences, and I'm sitting there reading the whole thing, right? So I know these are, again, these are all very simple. You have to get some lunch. It's good food.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's good, thanks.
We were just talking about any components of the worst type of presentation, lecture, or poster you have ever seen. Do you want to add any specific thing that would just make it a terrible thing for you? I'm putting you on the spot. No?
Well, I don't know what everybody else already said. I
Things
just
like-
corrected one for one of my medical students. It didn't have
Did
a
you?
single image on it.
See, that was good. So no images. Perfect. Perfect. That went right in there. Okay. All right. So a lot of these slides I have say oral presentations, but of course a lot of them you can apply also to posters. And presentations come in all formats, right? And everybody here has to do a presentation in many different scenarios. So we were talking earlier that I'm very comfortable talking to a group of people, especially about things that I do all the time, right? If we talk about depression, I could sit here for hours and we could talk about depression, right? Or medicine. The scariest ones I have is when I had to present in front of the VTCRI. It's like, I don't think I can remember the name of that track. I'll have to look at my slides and exactly those kinds. But that is an important thing, that these oral presentations are something you're going to do in any scenario. Of course, even on rounds, right? And when you're presenting. And I think, just my thought, I'm sure medical students are much better. And residents sometimes don't always do the best presentation. And I'm like, give me the big picture, right? And to know what's important is already half the battle. So first thing is, if you are doing a talk, don't apologize and say, Sandy, I know you had a cancellation and you just put me kind of in here at the last minute because I'm an easy talker. I'm so sorry that you guys have to sit here and listen to me, right? But people do that. So remember, when you're giving a talk, you're apparently the one in the room who knows the most about it at the time, most of the time, right? So you're usually the expert in the room. There's the projection equipment. See, I put that number 2 on there. And if you know how to fix the left side, we had a whole scenario about that, and we all feel we can't do it, so, but if you do, let us know. Show the audience only the things that you want to see, right? You don't have to clutter things, put other things on there that might be important for you to remember or to segue between slides, but you don't have to put everything up there, anything up there if you don't want them to see it either. Use the entire screen, right? I've seen lots of slides or posters where there's lots of space, right? So one of the things when I'm going through and editing slides, it's like I'm making that a lot bigger. I can see it much better, right? Never speak in a totally dark room. I think that's probably a given because everybody will sleep. Although I don't think I've ever heard anybody snore. But I guess there's always a first time.
Everything, that's right.
Whenever I go get a massage, though, I always tell the therapist, don't mind if I snore, because I usually fall asleep. So anyway, that was a tangent. That was a bad thing. So never read a presentation from a printed copy, right? And a lot of people will do that, especially if they're nervous, and that's the whole reason for the practicing, and also not to use as many words and whatever. Okay. So those are some of the first things. How about, in some instances, slow down? So I have been known to talk very fast. You have to kind of know what your audience is, what are you trying to get across, but not so slow. Anybody ever went to a talk where I'm waiting for the words? It's like, last year, I did some project, and it just kind of goes on like it drains out. If I'm making fun of anybody that you guys don't tell me, I swear this is not. Okay, your husband, I don't know him, so it's not on purpose. I swear. Time your slides carefully. So a lot of people will recommend a certain amount. You guys know, for what do we do? 45, 50-minute talk. What do most people recommend? How many slides?
I've heard a minute aside.
Right, minute a slide. And sometimes I even think that's maybe a little too fast. I guess it depends on what are on the slides, on the content. And there's usually 2, 3, 4 slides that are like the big picture slides, like the really important slides that you want to spend like 5 minutes on because there's so much on there. I find a lot of speakers will often go through that graph like really quick, and I'm like, this is the main graph. I didn't get to see it. I'm still trying to read the X and Y axis, and so you need to look at how long you are for your slides. Always leave time for questions. A lot of people say they don't want to do that because they don't want to have questions, but that's no fun, right? Actually, I think the scariest part of talking for me is the question and answer, because I'm afraid I'm going to get asked a question I don't know, and I'm going to look dumb. Right? Maybe that's just something we always think of. But that's why you read about everything. Use examples. Right? So I give stories or suggestions, but that's what people want to hear. Right? That's it. People will much more likely remember my snoring comment about at the massage therapist than perhaps other things, right? So you want to tell some stories and use examples. Patient examples are fabulous, right? I still remember ones, I don't know if they've changed a lot maybe in 20 years, but it's like, I remember this patient. We were talking today about conversion disorder, right? We saw a woman that we wondered if her symptoms were not faking, but psychologically part of something else. And as a resident at the University of Florida, one lady, maybe 20-year-old, came in and she couldn't move from below her waist. And they do like $1 million workup, right? CT, MRI, everything. Everything's perfectly normal. So then who do you call when everything's normal? You call the psychiatrist, right? Yes, okay. So went there, and I had, I just chat with this woman for a little while and talking, and she really doesn't seem concerned the fact that she can't. It's not unusual that she can't walk. And somehow we got into it, like, who's the most important person in your life? My grandfather. Oh, really? Tell me about him. He died last year. Oh, that's terrible. So what did you like about him? He went everywhere with me, and even though he was in a wheelchair and couldn't walk, he never let me do anything alone, and he was like my primary support. And I'm like, ding, 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 right? Her grandfather couldn't walk, and that's how her depression was coming out, that she couldn't walk. and like 3 therapy sessions. And she was walking. I'm like, I still remember that story. You know, and that's cool, right? So use examples that you guys know. Move around. Often if I'm in a big crowd, I like to have my microphone and do my Oprah thing, right? Go around. It's good because people want to have that. And, at the very least, repeat the questions so that the whole audience can hear. Try not to duplicate things. Although in some instances, when you have three big points you want to get through, you probably want to repeat those a couple of times so that people know these are the take-home points. And of course, name your sources. Many people don't do that.
And give enough information so when you
For
go
the
back to
source.
the librarian to get it for you.
Exactly right.
She can
Exactly
have it.
right. Miss Jane, would that be enough info for this one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you're right though. People will say, right, Kaplan, 2010, and you're like, uh-huh. What else? Could you give me something else? Yeah, okay. Choose the fonts and the colors carefully. You were talking about that, Mariah. Big thing, they suggest white or yellow on blue or black. So I often do yellow on dark blue. When we get to posters, it's actually opposite. But for slides, they suggest that. Graphics, they recommend in red, yellow, something bright that pops. Use diagonal lines, dots, you know, not just colors, so that perhaps some of the colorblind people in the audience may not necessarily get it, so use some of that. And cautious about abbreviations. And I would say that on big things, on posters too. I'll often see that and like, you know, that PTSD is not what the PTSD that I know. You know, it's something different, so make sure that you always talk about that. Keeping it simple. Oh, I forgot, indicate highlights. Simple, I think I've beat that one to death. Careful about titles and legends, not too many things on one slide or on one poster so that it gets too messy. Follow a sequence, that's what you guys were talking about, being organized, right? And know your audience. That's, to me, seems like one of the most simple things, but there's so many people I'll go to in the audience, they don't know who their audience was. I want to know if I'm talking to families of people with mental illness versus, you know, PhD researchers doing genetics. Totally different kind of concept. And when we're doing grain rounds or other things in our departments, it's harder because you have everything from students to faculty, and you want to try to have something for everybody in the audience, and sometimes that's difficult. So, but know your audience. And I always like to kind of know how many. It gives you an idea of, can I do the little group exercise? Or is there too many people that'll be chaos? Those kind of things. Okay, so 3 to 5 critical take-home points. You want those at the front and at the end. In your poster, you want it at the beginning. You want to do your conclusions with the same 3 to 5 points. I like to choose an uncomfortable topic because, as I said, my biggest fear is not knowing the answer the questions at the end. It'll make me read everything. So it's like, you know, I don't know anything about appendectomies with, you know, not that I'm saying, but I'll go look that up, you know. So I don't know what people think about that. There's something to be said for being a specialist in a certain area, and you know that, but I also like to know different things. There was your practicing the ums and and okay. You got that in there. Ask leading questions to the audience. So in psychiatry, we are taught to do open-ended. So how has your mood been today, Sherry? As opposed to, you've been really sad today, haven't you? Right, that would be a leading question. With an audience, if you want to ask a certain thing, you want to be more leading, perhaps, into what you're trying to get. Real life vignettes or cases, we kind of talked about that. Humor and enthusiasm, I think, are good. I have some of those. I'm much more humorous after a margarita, but apparently we're not allowed to do that here. So, I know, next time. Can we have a night one of these? Yeah, we should think about that. Happy hour, okay. And although I have had some really tough crowds, there's nobody from internal medicine here, and they might watch the video, but that's okay. I gotta tell you, when I was doing this talk for the internal medicine residents and the whole half day about research and everything, I couldn't get a laugh to save my life. It was a tough crowd. I know. I don't know, but it was a Friday afternoon. Perhaps that was it. And repeat audience questions, which we just talked, if you don't have a microphone. Okay. For a lot of the academic people in the room and what we're talking about, I wanted to bring this up, just the fact that anywhere you talk will be part of your portfolio. If you are interested in academia, even if not totally interested in an academic position, it's important to show your history, your experience, even if you're working for a group or a different community hospital, to show that you have that. So it's your reputation. People can't change that. In our area with the med school, promotion is very important. So Association of Academic Psychiatry I've been to just focuses on clinician educators, and that's their whole focus. Yes, there's still scholarly activity, but it's not, double-blind, placebo-controlled type of studies. So, and you've done a great job with this before, Sherry, and given us things out in your Teach newsletters too, which I read. I love them. But even more than just peer-reviewed publications, right? If you develop a new course, right? Thomas, if you want to overhaul Journal Club for psych and you make a whole new, this is how to do Journal Club, this is what you would suggest, this is how to do a presentation, and it becomes the new curriculum for Psychiatry Journal Club, that would be something you developed, and that would be a scholarly activity. Okay? Assessment tools, love that. Anything that you could utilize to see how something is working or not working. And any kind of workshop, poster, presentation. So of course we have many opportunities here. Education Day, Carilion Research Day is coming up, right? Abstracts, by the way, psychiatry. I'm helping, they're due March 1st? March 1st. Or 2nd. March 2nd. But those are always very engaging things. And my thought, now I know you can't always do this, but my thought you should have, if you do a talk on something, the next should be that you do a poster on that something, and then you should do a written publication on that something, whatever that topic is, so you can go through it and do, now maybe it's not possible all the time, but that would be a way to follow the whole stream. Okay. And there are plenty, and you guys know this, trainees and other things. I mean, travel awards and grants, and I can't tell you how many, as a new faculty at LSU 20 years ago, and they would come to me on emails, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to apply for that. I'm going to apply for that. I got turned down for lots. And then I bring up this story as an example. I got one for, okay, anybody know what NASPOG is? North American Society for Psychosocial Obstetrics and Gynecology. In case you wanted to know. Yeah, NASPOG. And I looked it up and I'm like, the meeting's in Hawaii. I really want to go to Hawaii. So, okay, not totally proud of it, but I did work on it after, is I did a poster on how to teach gender and cultural issues in psychiatry residency. So they got that, and I got to go to Hawaii. It was great. Nice. And then we actually did have that class and curriculum all through residency in the program I was in. But look for opportunities. There's always, there's many different kinds. Okay, we talked about the objectives at the beginning. Is there anybody here who does not know what a SMART objective? You guys can't raise your hands. No, everybody knows. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely, all of those things. And I think that many people are not always aware of these, and the good thing with our CME and stuff, people are always looking at it and watching it. It's like, number 2 is not measurable. Okay, let's review that and do that. So be very specific. So objectives for a talk, for a poster. It doesn't mean you might put them on the poster, but in your head, you are organizing it, putting it together. You want it to have a certain rhythm and sequence, as we talked about. I don't think we need to do Bloom's taxonomy, but there are some words we don't use for objectives, right? People remember? I know you guys will. What words are not very good to use? Is it learning, understanding, learn, know. They're all very, not very good. So and it goes up in specificity, I guess, but you want to look at what you're trying to accomplish for that. It's very easy to have an objective to list a certain thing or to state the criteria for major depressive disorder. Very different to hypothesize a treatment plan for a pregnant opiate addict, something, you know. Okay. Oh, I found the verbs to avoid. There we go. Appreciate, believe, have faith in, and then we did the other three. All right, public speaking, again, before we get to posters. Volume, we talked about eye contact. So I've done a lot of speaking for companies and other things in the past, and we would have speaker training at all of those. So I was always taught that you should have a specific sentence or comment, and you stay looking at the same person's eyes until you finish that point, and then you go to the next person's eyes, and you can go to the next, right? Break it down. We talked about using acronyms as props. People like those as long as you actually tell them what the acronym stands for. Practice, but don't memorize things. Stepping away and using creative graphs and props. Right? All simple. Common sense. And I just put these down. All of these are available, obviously, just on when you're looking at your Microsoft and your emails, and you can look up all the charts you want, but they all can be used for different data. So you'd want to figure out which one of these would be best used for data. So for example, a pie chart would be best for proportional things. Just quit?
Yeah.
Proportional relationship of some kind. Again, making sure you have bright colors that stand out. You'd want to use bar and column charts to maybe show ranking or comparison of things together, and I like the colors between. It's very right off the bat. You can see the differences. Line charts, if you're doing anything over time and you want to show some kind of trend, up, down, whatever, you want to use line charts. And there are other ones I didn't put on, but runway charts to show cumulative data. I'm not sure I really utilize those. Scatter plots, I like all the different things. And then box and whiskers charts, bless you, if you want to show ranges of how big sample or range that you had, especially if you have outliers. All right, what about posters? Posters are, as we all know, are visual communication tools. So when you go to, we all probably all been to conferences where there's poster sessions of 100 or 200, and you have an hour, right, to go through and see all the posters. And so I tend not to stop unless it's something that really catches my eye, if I can really see the title, all of these things that you see. So it's really a visual communication tool. And of course, when you go to posters, you want to be able to engage people who come around in a conversation, right? So you should all be prepped in that sense too, to have like a little 2-minute summary of what your project is. So if I came up and I said, Corey, please tell me about your poster, give it to me, and I'm like, oh, it's very interesting. Did you think about this and this? Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, so, but you want to get your main point across to as many people as possible, right? You're really advertising your work. You're marketing, you're summarizing. I don't think in medicine we do a very good job of marketing ourselves, right? But you have to. I mean, you have to, I guess it's fairly easy for psychiatrists because everybody needs us, but probably pharmacists do, no? And librarians, maybe. But it is an advertisement of your work, so you want it to be the best representation of itself. You want it to be easily read, bullet points. I don't know how many times I get posters and things to review that are in full sentences. I don't understand it, like points, bullet points, big things, kind of like you would do on a slide, right? So you can bring in the words when you're talking, you can fill in all the spacers, but you want it to be very clean and succinct, okay? And bring copies. That bugs me if I go and I really love this poster and they, do you have a copy? And they don't have any. I'm like, oh, I really want a copy of that poster. Can you email that to me? So you need to always have your business cards, right? That kind of thing. The other thing is, we talked about this with oral too, but who's my audience for the posters, right? So it can be different. You could have the same project perhaps presented at different meetings, although there are some etiquette things to remember about that. But depending on who the audience is, you can present it in a different way. All right, what is my message? Write a really good abstract. Now, I have seen some people who, when you put in an abstract to see if it gets accepted for a poster, I've seen some people who don't put the abstract in the poster that they had sent in, and some who do. What are the comments that you guys have? Is there a right or wrong way?
Depends on the forum, I think. Depends on a couple things. I think forum, what you're trying to convey, and if you run out of space.
And if you run out of space, yeah, then that would be the easiest thing to get
And
rid of.
if you have updated information.
That's true. Okay, good idea. How much room do I have? So posters, there's often similar sizes, but there are a lot of places where they're very different, and they can be. I've had posters. I don't know if I brought one. I brought some to show, but I had one that was very narrow but very tall, which is odd. That's not usually. It's more wide than tall, but some are very small. So you want to know your dimensions right off the bat. How much money do you have? That's always a good amount to do. Of course, we use, and I don't even remember what the name of it, it's in Salem, a printing thing that Psych we do, and so we email it to them. I think it's $100, and they deliver it to us the next day. So we like this place. So we do that. We'll have to share that.
There
with
are
you.
lots of different ones.
Lots of different ones.
PhD posters is a good one, and
Okay.
they will deliver it right to your conference. So
Oh,
you don't have to
cool.
worry about juggling with it on the airplane or whatever.
Cool.
And they're reasonable, but.
You mean we don't always have to use those big poster
Don't always have to.
cylinder things anymore? Those are fun. Okay.
On the way home.
Yeah. Set up deadlines for yourself. Don't procrastinate, which is something I must admit I do. It's not good. Do your layout. The graphics, we talked about this, clean, simple. Do some photos or some spot art, but you want a variety. You don't want it to be all very similar or all from the same place. For a poster, opposite of a slide, so light background with dark letters. Okay? And I can't tell you how many times to edit and review and have other people look at it. You know, I think it's my obsessive compulsive personality disorder, but if I see typos on that, it makes me feel bad for the person and for the poster itself, right, or paper. So have people read it or review it as many times as you want. Okay, it's at the bottom here, right? So, let's see.
It's, there you go.
Is it this one?
Over the P, the orange P.
The orange P, yeah, this one. Here it is,
There they
poster
are.
template. Okay, so,
Which one you want?
can we do that? Or we can do it as a slide. I don't have this.
There you go.
There we go. So that's one example from the, wherever we find it, on the Carillion website. Where did we say?
Marketing.
Wherever it is, marketing. So this is
I like
one side. And you can have, this one doesn't have specific headings, but what would be, I mean, for most of the things we do, what would people want to have here?
Intro, methods.
Okay, introduction, methods, results, conclusion. I'm sorry?
Results.
Results, yeah. I've had limitations occasionally.
References.
I'm sorry?
References.
References,
Charts.
future recommendations or future suggestions. Instead of introduction, sometimes I'll do background, depending on what it is. Missing anything?
Charts or graphs.
Charts or graphs, which would probably likely be under results, right? But you want to have a big title of it to show it. And the best way to show your graphs or data. And I think most posters, you have to have some pictorial representation, and it could be a table, because you could make a table look good, and that it breaks up the words and it has some data that you can key in on. You know, I mean, when you look at blots, what are those called? Like blots of genetic data and stuff. Some of those are cool too, but you don't want to have so much on there that you don't know which way to go. Okay. And I think I brought some samples of posters, maybe a couple, just to show you. So, and I make a poster out of anything, I guess. So I had a student doing a master's degree from Michigan State, and they let her do it here. So we have everybody know about Connect. Connect is our emergency system that takes thousands of phone calls a month from doctors, other hospitals, anywhere for psychiatric care. And so I had her reevaluate the whole infrastructure of Connect, since she was doing an MPH. I'm like, that's a good project, figure that out. She made a brochure, all of those kind of things to kind of look at it. And I'm just giving you an idea of the kind of things she can look at. So, you're looking at where you are, right, your own data. I always think data from where you are to confirm or to add to your, like if you need money or you think you need to have a better service on something, how do you do that without having the data to say, we really need this because, having that data is important. What was the other one? This one was with a med student last year. That we had people we get a lot of alcohol people come up onto our unit and go for detox, and she wanted to know if some motivational interviewing might prevent them from leaving against medical advice, because they all do. Once the withdrawal starts to get a little bit big, they want, like, I'm going back out to drink. And so she made this and looked at this, and is it American, what's AHRQ? AHCQ, so what, healthcare?
Research and quality.
Research and quality. So there was a big meeting in DC last year. She got that travel award. She went there, she presented it. It was all very cool. And it was just on an idea of things that we have here. So you can see that you can do almost anything. And I don't think I kept the others. So, but everything from, let's see, PTSD and hypertension to when I did a clinical trial with cocaine addicts, and I did a poster on how to recruit cocaine addicts. Interesting. But you can do all kinds of different data and thoughts. So I hope everybody has their ideas and stuff ready for April 10th. That's Research Day.
April 15th.
April 15th? Shoot. I thought it was 10th. I could be wrong. Okay. Few words, and then we're going to be done. Arrive early and set up your poster. Okay, you don't want to be there last minute, or some people are want to go right off the bat, go to the ones they've looked up in their itinerary. It's like, I really want to go see that one, and if you're not there and set up, it's not good. Bring copies. We talked about that. I like this comment. Consider leaving a pen and pad beside your poster, because some people will want to give comments or suggestions of what you could do, or call me, I have data on such and such. Be there for your whole duration. I know sometimes it can seem very long, but you need to be there how long do we do that for here?
For the
our
research
posters?
day?
Yeah,
I don't know.
like 30 minutes or so. It's not
I
that
think it's
long.
divided into 3 sessions.
Yeah,
So,
and each one is it an hour? Maybe, it's not that long.
The big conferences can be seen.
Yeah, but some they want you there for 2 hours, and it can be there. And I said have a few minute prepared presentation, and for your presentation you want to give a big picture, why the problem is important. That's always what I ask, and then the graphics to support it. So kind of think of that to yourself. When somebody comes up to me and talks, this is what I want to be able to tell them.
So one of the cool things I've seen when you say bring copies,
Yep.
I've started to see people, they'll bring like a vanilla folder and then sort of pin it to the
Yeah,
board.
yeah. And then if somebody
put
wants it-
your copies in there.
Yep,
Yeah, thank
yep.
you.
And they don't have to be laying on the floor, you don't
Right,
have to be
right.
holding them.
Yes.
No, it's good. And then if people have cards or anything they want, they can also drop it into the
Yes.
folder.
That's good.
So you guys all know that the interacting and networking at posters is probably the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still keep cards too, right? I know something about having them. I have this big black book of like cards, everybody's cards, and where did I meet them, and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I think we're almost done. Additional things that are things to important. generic medication names. Don't use trade names, right? Especially if it's national or international, even just regional. Some medications have 2 different trade names, but it's the same medication. So use generic, same thing like when we do notes and stuff. It's better to put generic names of things. Then you're not biased towards any particular company. Diagnostic accuracy, so if ICD-10 is there, use that. Right, we were talking this morning about substance abuse and dependence. DSM-5 doesn't use that anymore. It's alcohol use disorder, opiate use disorder. We don't use abuse and dependence anymore. Plagiarism, big thing. Okay, we had discussions here of whether we should have some kind of system to review things that people come in, right? There are free ones on the internet that you can do, and there are other ones that you can buy that people can look at. And I don't know if anybody has comments about that kind of stuff. Thoughts? You guys must have thoughts about
It's
that.
very bad.
Well, that's what I want to know. It's very bad. Like people are cutting and pasting directly from other papers, from other things. Okay. How does it, without giving anything away, how does it come to your attention? I don't know. What? Don't know.
I don't know, I know high school teachers.
High school
use it a lot.
teachers, babe. Yep.
Their papers at Jefferson College now are generally automatically checked.
Okay.
And it'll come back and say, this matched 80%
There you go.
to something
There you
else
go.
in this database.
And I know Dr. LeConte, in the med school, they do that with all of their research too. I'm not sure how much we have here for our research, but I would assume that's coming in some method, in some manner. Citations, of course, you always want to have those, or your sources or references. And then they actually recommend for a 1-hour lecture, do 8 hours of prep. I don't know if I would say the same for a poster, might be even more. Might even be more if you include the time to get it reviewed, made, and gotten back to you. So we're back at the beginning, and we're done. Hopefully you have learned a little bit about strong and weak presentations or posters, what a SMART objective format is, and hopefully how to develop, make, think of an engaging poster. So questions, discussion, and then we can be on time. I didn't run late.
You did a great job.
And after you said that, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go. Thoughts? Too basic? No? Okay, good.
Have you all presented posters or presentations anyway?
You have, yeah.
Or
You have, okay. Just Thomas, we're gonna have to get Thomas to do one this year.
Perfect pair. You
I know.
Get him up to speed.
I know. All right,
Excellent.
thank you.
so much.